This is from Iran International, 2023. IRGC commander repeats threat to kill Trump and Pompeo. I remember this story. It was really big after the killing of Soleimani. Iran was like, we will get revenge. We will kill Trump. I thought this was, fairly common. They say that Amirali Hajizadeh, the head of the Revolutionary Guards Aerospace Force, spoke of Iran's often repeated threat to avenge the killing of Qasem Soleimani, Tehran's top military intelligence operator in the Middle East, saying we are looking. He went on to give a threat that he wanted to kill Trump. And then you just pull up this guy's Wikipedia page, and he died on the 13th.
You know
he was
how?
killed in those strikes.
You know how? Yeah, he was killed. Yeah.
Israeli airstrike in June of 2025. Yeah. So I thought this was, this is not a statement of what the U.S. should or should not do, but the argument that Iran's top officials were like, we will have revenge for the killing of Soleimani.
Are we about to go to war with Iran again? That's the question everyone's dodging. But with Iran ramping up its nuclear program, making threats, and doubling down on its anti-American ideology, and with Trump back in charge, this isn't just talk. It's a test. A test of strength, strategy, and whether the U.S. actually has the backbone to deal with hostile regimes, or if we're still playing footsie under the table while they build bombs underground. This video dives into the Iran nuclear threat, the failure of appeasement, and how Trump's return changes everything.
I thought was fairly common knowledge.
And I really think that if you take Islam out of the equation, then we would be having an entirely different conversation. And I think that's the conversation that I see most people having. And
so, Karis, are you willing to accept a diplomatic solution to this conflict that leaves Khomeini in charge of the country?
100%. However, I believe that if that diplomatic solution allows for any sort of future, like in 20 years, if Iran can develop another bomb, which is a very real possibility with a diplomatic solution.
What do you mean another bomb?
Then we're just going to do it. If they are able to enrich uranium to 60% purity, at the 90% threshold for weapons grade material, and have 400 kilograms of uranium again, then to me, I think that just shows that we were naive. However, if that doesn't happen, then yes, a diplomatic solution is 100% the right way to go.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. Ideology matters. When a regime is built on religious extremism and martyrdom, normal rules don't apply. You can't negotiate with someone who thinks dying for their cause is the win condition. And pretending otherwise? That's how we ended up in messes like Afghanistan. Remember how that ended?
It just depends how much you are prepared to verify and to essentially keep your guard up. But I want to just address a point you made about before, which is a really good point, that if they're already such a threat, like you were saying, I can't even remember the point you were making, but in response, I wanted to say that
if Iran is such a threat, then it doesn't make sense to make a deal or to do limited airstrikes.
Right.
It makes sense to do whatever it takes to nuke them or to facilitate a regime change.
That's exactly why I think that should also be on the table. I think that all those solutions should be on the table. Look, if Iran actually surrenders, not is ready to negotiate, not is ready to, pause their nuclear program and shut the doors.
What do you mean by surrender?
The actual surrender. Give up their thousands of centrifuges, okay? Destroy them. Destroy their centrifuge. What?
How would you know if they did?
Well, it would have to be overseen by the IAEA or.
So you're saying like foreign security forces in some capacity would need to physically enter Iran and then oversee the actions that they're taking.
Yeah, that's what the IAEA does.
What if they have secret facilities no one knows about?
Well, that's a very real possibility, and that's why they essentially need to have a level of transparency.
Be honest. Do you trust Iran to self-report their nuclear activity? The same regime that hid entire underground programs from international inspectors? Yeah, I didn't think so. So what's the plan? Another press conference or actual enforcement? Let me know in the comments. Is a diplomatic solution even possible? Or is this just another round of make-believe in the Middle East?
That to me is very, very, very difficult to get, which makes the diplomatic solution very difficult to achieve. They might have centrifuges in other places, but I mean, we know that the whole reason that Fordo is 300 feet underground is precisely because it was covert and it was in violation of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, which the IAEA
and because
found
they don't want to get bombed by
they wanted to specifically
PBU-57s.
Exactly. It was literally because they knew about bunker busters, and they said we have to build it in such a way that the U.S. cannot do anything about it.
We destroyed Iraq's nuclear facilities in 1991 because they were above ground, which was the impetus for them to build Fordo 300 feet under the earth.
Yeah, exactly. There was a deep investigation into their nuclear program. Of course, they would want to do it in secret because they want to have a nuclear bomb.
What's the threat of Iran having a nuclear bomb?
The threat to the world, the threat to America, the threat to Israel. I mean, well, first of all, talk about like.
Well, I don't care about the world. I only care about Israel.
If we're talking about like, blood and treasure, right, and the cost that a nuclear Iran would, like the actual dollar cost of a nuclear Iran on America, it is. I mean, I haven't done the calculations.
But why? Like, what's going to happen?
Maritime routes, transcontinental infrastructure. You try to get insurance. You try to get insurance and risk models after there is a nuclear Iran in the region. Are you kidding me?
But why? What are you saying they're going to do?
Because first of all, there's going to be an arms race. I mean, they've said it. Saudi Arabia has said it. Okay, the UAE has said it. I understand, but so this increases the cost of things like insurance and the region, right? When you create risk models, right, for activities in the region.
I just gotta say, are you saying Iran is going to nuke people?
Oh, well, 100%. Well, you just said, are they going to? You said you didn't care about Israel, so I
said I don't care about the world. I only care about Israel. It was a joke.
Oh, I thought you said I don't care about Israel.
No, he said he only cares about Israel.
I mean, do I believe they're going to nuke Israel? 100%. But look, I'm trying to.
That's the question, because everybody.
Do I believe that? I believe 100% they will.
That's not just alarmist. It's based on their own words. Iran's leadership has said the quiet part out loud for decades, and the idea that they'd use a bomb as a bargaining chip, that's wishful thinking. When someone tells you they want to wipe a country off the map, maybe, just maybe, we should take them seriously.
Because I believe when somebody says they want to kill you, look at like North Korea. Like this is a perfect example. Okay, does North Korea have nuclear weapons? Of course they do. Is North Korea an ally of Iran and an enemy of America and an ally of China and Venezuela and all of those rogue states? Yes, of course. But again, North Korea, it does not have an annihilationist, expansionist goal that Iran has. North Korea wants America destroyed.
You don't think North Korea wants to own the entire Korean Peninsula?
I think they want to own the peninsula. I think that's as far as it goes.
Well, so then why haven't
if you have regional ambitions, you also have to know your own capability, right? And so we can kind of trust North Korea to know that. But because Iran has all of these proxies, and because that's coupled with these dogmatic, religiously fundamentalist ambitions, they actually believe that they can carry out a complete restructuring of not just the region, but the entire world. I mean, we're talking about, over a billion Muslims, and even if like 10% of that are a group that is sympathetic to any sort of like Islamist way of life.
Can you be a little bit more? I understand.
You're talking about more than the population of America here.
I think Iran
spread out over the world
is an adversary, and I don't think they are some people that we should coddle. But to say that, letting. And I also don't think Iran should have a nuclear weapon. I don't think that's a good thing to hope for or to allow. But I think we should be realistic and concrete about the details in the actions that would be required to stop such a future. In my mind, there are two options to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. One is diplomacy and a deal. There was good reporting before the war started that Iran was willing to accept American investigators on the ground, which was something that President Obama didn't secure. So a deal that allows some sort of verification of their nuclear regime, all the caveats about how difficult that might be apply, or it is an all-out ground invasion that necessitates a change from the regime that you expertly point out is threatening America across the world.
Right. So you're saying war or appeasement. There's nothing in between.
I said diplomacy, a diplomatic solution.
But you know, I mean, don't be naive. I know you're not naive. You know that all Iran knows how to do is to cheat and to steal.
Was there any intelligence assessment around the world that said that they had a nuclear weapon before Israel started their airstrikes?
You mean like in 2003 when the IAEA came out with their huge report and discovered that like since like 1980 or since like the 1980s at some point, Iran had a completely covert, like secret nuclear weapons program and was in complete violation of the treaty that they had signed on to?
Of course. And so I think a way to end that is a diplomatic solution that provides genuine transparency, right? Maybe we literally watch them cement close the doors to Bordeaux.
I don't think that's possible.
But they said Iran.
Then we got to go to war.
But the Ayatollah. Okay, there you just said it because the Ayatollahs said over and over again. If you read the news, they said we are not going to submit to Trump's terms for this deal. The term Trump has his head on his shoulders. He understands exactly what Iran would need to do in order for them not to be a nuclear threat to America. But those things that need to happen, Iran will not agree to. They said it over and over again. So what's wrong with Trump saying to Iran, okay, you have 60 days to try to make a deal. Mm-hmm. And if you do not come up with a diplomatic solution that essentially satisfies our requirements, then all bets are off.
I'm pretty sure that if we invade, we'll be greeted as liberators.
This is I think underlies a point about the debate. We're told that there is this limited option where we can take some precise action against a regime that is also a paper tiger and an existential threat to humanity at the same time, and then somehow avoid further entanglement, further military action. And that is, again, I think it's not. I don't. When I say it's not being honest, I'm not saying deliberately a deliberate lie, but I think it leaves unsaid and undiscussed the real eventualities of what happens when we think that we can take quick, decisive military action in the Middle East to achieve policy outcomes that are actually a lot.
Whether you think diplomacy is the answer or not, the one thing we can't afford is more denial. Iran is playing a long game, and they've been winning it while the U.S. flip-flops between threats and handshakes. A real strategy, not just posturing, is long overdue, and if we wait for the next crisis to figure it out, it might already be too late.